One copy of that password to divinity. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम 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 जय जय राम ओम
Password for chanting.
Password. Small book. श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम 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 श्री राम जय जय राम. Hari Om to everybody.
Om Swamiji. Pranam. Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Before we take up, we thought we would better read out the contents of an email received from one of the devotees, very, very thought-provoking, and many of us are facing the problem. One great lesson that is learned from IQG in-depth study is that so far we were utilizing Ram Nam chanting for getting our personal small happinesses in their day-to-day life. where we can get the highest. Experience by properly chanting the same mantra, which has the most invaluable purchasing power than any other thing that we know. In the first chapter, Papa says, the more he meditated upon and uttered his name, the greater the joy and happiness he felt. Here it clearly gives us to feel that we are more or less praying and uttering his name just to solve our petty problems and simply feel that that is all we want, and for name's sake again chant. This process continues, taking us nowhere. We have to go ahead as Papa did. The undisturbed constant communion with the inner self must be experienced in solitude to get rid of me and mine. Can we do it? Will Ram be kind enough to guide us? Hope everybody has understood the contents. We have all been associating with the ashram for decades. We have developed a taste for Ram Nam. Whenever we come here, we do it enthusiastically. At home also we chant, or on occasions when friends, ashram friends join. On special occasions we go to somewhere and spend. Beyond that we have not gone. That's what he specifically says. Many people feel that it is for solving the mundane problems. So now he says in his in-depth study has revealed. So the reply was, yes, he has now made us aware that made us aware of the real purpose of chanting. He will guide us further. Ours is to remember him both during the chanting and non-chanting time. Of course, only by his grace this will become possible. May he keep on showering his blessings on us to do so is our prayer. A very important point, because Ramnam is so much dearest to our heart. But we still don't know what are the preparatory steps we have to take before chanting or while chanting or after chanting. Why this is not posing? It's Kiran's. Let us go. It will again come to something else. So now we will try to go through Papa's words. Chanting of God's name is the mainstay of Anandashram. However, the chanting should be done with the right background to the mind, with love and faith. Beloved Papa Swami Ramdas has time and again touched upon this theme during his Satsang. A few messages from these sessions are extracted. Japa means, Papa says, Japa means constant repetition of God's name. The chief condition necessary for Japa Yoga is a keen aspiration to know and realize God. So first he clearly mentions, What for Ramnam is written, what for Ramnam is chanted, no? Japa means constant repetition of God's name. Chief condition necessary for Japa Yoga is a keen aspiration to know and realize God. Given this, the person who is on the spiritual path will go on taking his name with all love and joy. By so doing, he will thoroughly purify his mind and make it transparent so that God within him may shine forth and absorb him into his all-pervading, all-transcendent being of splendor, peace, power, and wisdom. So a keen aspiration to realize God is the only necessary condition. Ramdas has already said that when we are repeating the name of God, we must be conscious that we are repeating the name of one who is within us, who is our true being and existence. We must keep this central fact in our mind when taking his name. Then the practice will gradually make us aware of his existence within us. If it is not clear, you kindly tell us, we will again read. This is the most important thing. The in-depth study of In Quest of God is throwing light on how we should chant the name. Whatever we have done so far, it is all right, it will not go in vain. But at least from now on, let us have more clarity.
Swamiji, existence means inner existence. Inner existence.
Inner existence.
Inside the heart.
Our true being and existence. Our true being and existence means he, no? Ramdas has already said that when we are repeating the name of God, we must be conscious that we are repeating the name of one who is within us, who is our true being and existence.
Yes.
We must keep this central fact in our mind when taking his name. Then the practice will gradually make us aware of his existence within us. His presence, existence, presence within us.
Yes.
At the beginning, we are not aware of this. But we intellectually accept the idea that God dwells within us and we take his name. The association with him is there mentally and it grows into an experience when we actually feel. By constantly hammering into the mind that God whom we aspire to see is within us and that the name we repeat is his name. This is very, very important. Very, very important.
Yes, Swamiji.
The object of repeating the name is to purify the mind and thereby get the awareness of him within us. Because of the absence of purity, we are not able to feel his presence. So we are now taking to this chanting of the name to clear off all the dirt. So that should be our prayer. No? Along with chanting, please make me aware of your presence. The purpose of your motivating me to chant is to know that you are there and you are the one who is motivating me to chant. At the moment I feel I am chanting the name. So kindly make me aware of this fundamental truth. And then, because our communion with him through the name becomes so perfect that gradually we lose the distinction between ourselves and him and freed from all desires and outgoing tendencies, find union with him. We then realize that the light of God is nothing but the light that comes from our own soul. Actually, when the light dawns on us, we cannot but see him everywhere. As we become aware of him within us, we become conscious of him without us also. We feel his presence everywhere. we see a strange, all-pervading light wherein all beings and creatures seem to be so many bubbles appearing and disappearing. Again, the question is asked, does the mantra bind us down to one particular manifestation of divinity, deity? This morning also we had. For example, if we take the mantra of Krishna, does it not bind us to Krishna only? Papa, for the time being, for the sake of concentration, you must be attached to one form or manifestation of God. That Ishta, the adored deity of yours, on your surrendering yourself to him, takes you beyond name form and makes you realize the all-pervading, infinite, eternal existence of God. When you want to climb upstairs, you require some means to do so, a rope, a flight of steps, or a lift. So long as you are climbing by the help of a rope, you have not to think about the staircase or other means. For the time being, for you, the rope is the only way which takes you up. Some others may use either the staircase or the lift. Though going by different means, all reach the same upper floor at the end and meet there. When they reach the destination, they all give up the rope, the staircase, the lift, as the case may be. These aids are of no significance to them after reaching the goal. So Krishna's name and form are meditated upon only for attaining the impersonal Krishna, who is residing in our heart and pervading everywhere. He has assumed a form for the devotees to concentrate upon. By its help, the devotees who have accepted the name and form as their guide will be raised beyond them into his vast, infinite, unmanifest existence. It is only then that the soul attains liberation and peace.
Swamiji, one doubt. When we are chanting, is it necessary to do what they call as Purascharanam of the mantra?
No, the right mental attitude is necessary, no? What for we are chanting, we should be very clear. Today's email brought that, so far we have taken up chanting mostly for our worldly, mundane problems. And as soon as the problem is solved, we are not that intense. However, as a practice, we continue to do, that's all. Bluntly, he has mentioned. But when after reading the first chapter, Papa made him to think about it. No, you are using this for all these petty, it is of its purchasing capacity, he said, its value is something more. Its value is to give us eternal joy. That aspect has not so far come to our mind. It is all because of the in-depth study. Because Nama chanting has been taken up by us all. So we are asking ourselves, for decades together we have been chanting, where are we now? In terms of moving towards His presence, there may be other benefits we would have got. But in terms of feeling His presence within, to what extent it has helped us? That is being answered by Papa. So that is why he said we should keep on hammering that while chanting the name, we should know that He is the name whom we are chanting. I will repeat his own words. The book is there, When we are repeating the name of God, we must be conscious that we are repeating the name of one who is within us, who is our true being and existence. We must keep this central fact in our mind when taking His name. Then the practice will gradually make us aware of His existence within us. At the beginning, we are not aware of this, but we intellectually accept the idea that God dwells within us and we take His name. The association with Him is there mentally, and it gradually grows into an experience when we actually feel His presence by constantly hammering into the mind that God whom we aspire to see is within us, and that the name we repeat is His name. This does not mean that those of us who have been using this Ram Nam, whenever we are confronted with worldly problems, it has gone in vain. No. Probably God wanted to make us to develop more and more faith in Ram Nam. We cannot at the moment raise ourselves to a higher pedestal. So at our level, He meets with those demands by responding to our prayer at times not responding to our prayer. And then slowly we try to think about, oh, what is Ram Nam doing to me?
It is for the welfare of one and all.
So we have to keep on bringing this idea into our mind so that it doesn't become mechanical, it doesn't become ritualistic, it doesn't become lip level exercise, superficial exercise. So the in-depth study of IQG has touched and kindled in one devotee, that's why he wrote. And then for all of us now, he is touching and kindling it. We will again go through some of Papa's Somebody asked, can the repetition of mantra not be an obstacle so far as it may become automatic or mechanical and hide us from the real truth? Papa, in that case, we do not know why we are repeating the mantra. What is the aim? To get our mind purified by constant remembrance of God. Taking God's name, doing japa means that we are trying to become conscious of God. Because the mantra, the name stands for God. When we tune ourselves with the name, we tune ourselves with God. That is the purpose of repeating the mantra. Without it, the repetition becomes merely mechanical, does not help us in any way. We must knowingly repeat the mantra and become conscious of God by understanding the object of such repetition. Very powerful words. In our language, to remember Him, tuning ourselves, we may not be able to understand, but just to remember Him. So first we try to remember Him through chanting His name, and then later on, during the non-chanting time, if my activities are not in conformity with this, I will not be able to do effective chanting. If my outer life is not value-based, the real purpose of chanting cannot be had. Because chanting now, Papa clearly says, it is an expansion from me to Him. I have somehow put myself in a prison, conceptual prison of me and mine. So Ramnam is supposed to open the prison and enable me to become one with the infinite. These ideas, suppose I get while chanting. So we devotees who have been doing it now, individually, we don't mean this congregational, no. When we are all together, it may be difficult. That is only for the collective sadhana, that's all. But individual sadhana is more important than anything. So we can adopt various methods. For example, we chant Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. And then we introduce this in our thoughts. You are making me to chant the name so that I will be able to realize your presence within. in our own language. You are making me to chant the name, to become aware that you are motivating me to chant your name, motivating me to chant your name, to remember you. And like that, every now and then we stop. And then again we try to connect up with this. Suppose we make it as a habit, it becomes ritualistic again. So we devise our own methods to, now my whole thrust should be how to make the chanting more effective so that his remembrance is felt. I become aware of him. In fact, I never knew that it was he who was motivating me. When we happened to meet our Guru through his books or personally, we were made aware that chanting is the panacea, name is the panacea for everything. So if we hold on to the name, we will get everything. We did not know. To us, everything means our worldly life. We did not know beyond that. So initially we started chanting for the sake of joy, for the sake of getting things done, for the sake of getting more and more capacity to endure our sufferings, to chant, to get over our hurdles, so many things, because that was everything for us. Later on again our Guru comes and says, through his wisdom teachings, hey, look here, you are chanting only to make you aware that he is making you to chant. So these quotations we have now taken from his different satsangs. And he gave us the privilege of now consolidating everything and then going through so that we get an overall picture. So he says, what is the aim? In that case, we do not know why we are repeating. What is the aim? To get our mind purified by constant remembrance of God. Taking God's name, doing japa means that we are trying to become conscious of God. Because the mantra, the name stands for God. When we tune ourselves with the name, we tune ourselves with God. That is the purpose of repeating the mantra. Without it, the repetition becomes merely mechanical and does not help us in any way. We must knowingly repeat the mantra. Knowingly repeat. Very important. Meaning, we are repeating the mantra to become aware that we are chanting the name of one who is within us, who is our true being, and who is making us to chant to remember him. This is knowingly chanting. And become conscious of God by understanding the object of such repetition. Somebody asked, can you help those of us who are caught in the whirlpool of work so much that we are not conscious of the presence of God? Papa answers, we do not work the whole day long. There are some hours of leisure. Out of these hours, after spending some time for the necessities of life, outside the field of daily work, some period may be devoted exclusively for remembering and getting the necessary communion and contact with him. By practicing like this from day to day, we shall be able to develop a nature in which there will be always peace, even when we are active in our daily routine. Remembrance of God in that state becomes the background of all external activity. Consciousness of God will then be always with us, and we get the peace that which passeth all understanding. Otherwise, we are caught in a whirlpool of work we are doing every day and lose ourselves in it so much that we entirely forget God. We become only machines turning out a certain amount of work and exhausting ourselves. As a result, the mind becomes restless, careworn, unbalanced. So during our leisure hours, we must devote some time to retire within ourselves and commune with the divine by remembering him through prayer and meditation. Gradually we feel so much joy in the work that we never feel fatigued. We now know that the work we are doing is a dedication to the divine. Any work, because we become conscious that we are doing the work not by our own will, but by the will and power of the divine. Another devotee: would it be possible for us to hear you chant your mantra and say something about its significance? Papa, after chanting the mantra for some time, the mantra which Ramdas was repeating was Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. He received the mantra from his guru, who was none other than his father. After the mantra was received, Ramdas felt that it took complete possession of him. It is not that he possessed the mantra, but the mantra possessed him. He was constantly repeating it, and in that repetition from the very start, he felt absolute peace and joy. It was all due to God's grace, because without His grace, our mind does not turn towards Him. Without our mind turning towards God, His name will not taste sweet to us or prove beneficial to us. Without our mind turning towards God, His name will not taste sweet to us or prove beneficial to us. Our mind will be wandering in many directions if we repeat the name mechanically. The mind must be attuned to the name of God, and through the name we must attain that inner consciousness or awareness of the divine. We must also feel His presence everywhere. This is the end that we have to attain. This mantra was working in Ramdas's mind continuously until the mind became luminous and peaceful and all its impurities were completely eradicated. Ramdas has seen so many persons struggling on the path of God realization or God vision, but they have not been able to root out the desires of their lower nature. From Ramdas's experience, he can boldly say that by the repetition of the mantra given to you by a your mind absolutely pure like a crystal. Purity of mind is essential for God vision. You must be absolutely honest, straightforward, free from lust, greed and wrath. Then only God can be yours. You can realize Him, experience Him, live, move and have Him being in Him at all times. Papa is revealing this blunt truth, not always. Because today morning also we were sharing. At one time you will find Papa saying, somebody says, when I chant I don't get concentration, mind is going. Is it concentration or no concentration? Chant. It is not paradoxical. Here he says, the purpose of chanting. Initially, when we try, naturally the mind will go here and there. So suppose we will not be able to absorb all these thoughts. So he said, you try to make your mind somehow get a taste of chanting, habit of chanting. So initially, whether there is concentration or non-concentration, we keep on chanting. But we cannot take shelter under that, because for decades we cannot be like that. As we keep on chanting, we may also develop thoughts like, when I am in trouble, God will save us, I will do Ram Nam. You remember Mataji used to prescribe, when somebody comes and asks, My daughter is not getting married, what should I do? 21 days, 21,000 times. Again 21 days, 21,000 times. Again 21 days, 21,000 times. Why did she say that? Because all philosophy will not go into our this thing. God will arrange the marriage whenever God wills it. Na? But we should be able to accept this fact. So with total faith and devotion when they chant, the alliance comes and then we get stuck there. To us, Ramnam chanting is for that mundane purpose. Later on, Mataji and Papa, they keep on clarifying this to us. These are the words we are now reading. Rama. Are there any special condition for repeating the mantra? Papa, the chief condition is our surrender to him. Where are we and where is surrender? Na? Surrender means feeling and saying, oh God, I am nothing, you are everything. With this attitude towards him, if you repeat his name, your mind will be instantly still and you will experience immediate peace. If such an attitude of surrender is not possible at once, you may look upon God as your master and consider yourself to be his servant, and then remember the master incessantly, so that by his light and grace you will be liberated from the clutches of the ego, which is responsible for your keeping away from the master and making you feel the sense of doership in every action. So this relationship with God is very helpful in receiving his grace, and the power that flows from the grace is sure to elevate you and fill you with his peace and power. So surrender. Devotee, when we repeat the name which we have chosen for ourselves, should we repeat the name alone or should we have the whole phrase in which the name is set? That is Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram or Ram. No? Some people chant only Ram. Some people say Om Namah Shivaya. Somebody may say some other name. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. No? Somebody said Narayana, 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 Narayana. Krishna, 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 Krishna. So he is asking. So whether when we want to repeat the name which we have chosen for ourselves, should we repeat the name alone or should we have the whole phrase in which the name is set? Papa, you may repeat it whichever way you like. The only thing is, by repeating the name or mantra, you must tune your mind with God, commune with him. If that is not done, the repetition of any mantra will not be of any use. Devotee, how to stop the mind running about even while repeating the name? Then Papa gives left and right. That shows your devotion to God is not sufficiently strong. Pray to God within you to grant you intense devotion. By abhyasa and vairagya, you can control the mind. Now your abhyasa is not continuous, vairagya is nil. That means we chant only with all our comfort zones, you know. Then how can you control the mind? Jnaneshwar says, first surrender yourself to God and take his name. Surrender must come before repetition, not after. Rama. If you have got keen longing for God and God alone, even if you lose the whole world, you will not mind. Whereas now, your mind is restless, even if anything goes wrong slightly here and there. Vairagya comes through Ananya Bhakti, exclusive thought of God. I want you and you alone, my God. You are ever longing for God until he is realized. You want the joy of the eternal. So toward the transitory things, there is dispassion, and towards God, there is intense devotion. Both together will enable you to fix your mind upon God. At present, your devotion is nothing. There is no earnestness in it. Repetition is done as a matter of course. Mind is as restless as ever. You read the Bhagavad Gita, but do not want to act up to the teaching of Krishna. Devotee, Papa has written in the book, In the Vision of God, about a sadhu who did not find joy, even though he had repeated God's name for 30 years. Ramdas, Papa. Because he was repeating the name with the feeling that he was doing it. Let him repeat that like for 100 years, still he will remain the same. Because he was repeating the name with the feeling that he was doing it. Not God is making him to repeat, If I feel I am repeating the name, even if I do for 100 years, I will be the same. That's what Papa bluntly says. Then the devotee says, it is by God's grace that one starts repeating the name, Papa. But he must feel it. He goes on repeating day by day. He looks down upon others who are not repeating the name. You say, I am repeating 20 times. I fasted, went to solitude, saw so many saints, this, that. He takes pride in it. People praise him. He gets puffed up. The bandicoot is my inside. Even if he repeats Ram Nam lakhs of time, he cannot improve. So in the background, while repeating the name, you must feel you are repeating the name of God who is in your heart. You must become conscious of God within you. Then if you repeat the name with faith, love and devotion, gradually you become conscious of God's presence within, without, everywhere. That is the result of remembering God through repetition of His name. If there is not that remembrance, the repetition is mechanical. Now we have fairly good idea. So the question was, one great lesson that is learned from IQG in-depth study is that so far we are utilizing the Nama chanting for getting our small happiness in the day-to-day life. Whereas we can get the highest experience by properly chanting the same mantra, which has the most invaluable purchasing power than any other thing that we know. In the first chapter, Papa says, the more he meditated upon and uttered his name, the greater the joy and happiness he felt. Here it clearly gives us to feel that we are more or less praying and uttering his name just to solve our petty problems and simply feel that it is all we want, and for name's sake again we chant. This process continues, taking us nowhere. We have to go ahead as Papa did. The undisturbed constant communion with the inner self must be experienced in solitude to get rid of me and mine. Can we do it? Will Ram be kind enough to guide us? So this was the email. Again, the reply is, yes, he has now made us aware of the real purpose of chanting. Be sure he will guide us further. Ours is to remember him both during the chanting and non-chanting time. Not merely during the chanting time. Of course, only by his grace this will also become possible. So may he keep on showering his blessings on us. To do so is our prayer. Something very important aspect that today Papa made the devotee to bring it out. Because this is the very important step, Suppose we feel we are all in quest of God, First of all, we are asking ourselves, are we in quest of God? For that, some clarity, something is needed to know what God stands for. Luckily, He has made us aware that He is love, He is peace, He is joy absolute, He is life force, He is awareness, He is intelligence, He is compassion absolute. All these things, we try to meditate upon this. So I must remember Him. It is for that purpose. There may be so many methods. Our spiritual preceptor, Guru, said, chanting is the easiest way. In the sense, no other thing is necessary. Easiest means, it is not that easy. But suppose we have to do some puja, some purasharana or some other ritual. Elaborate arrangements have to be made, when we have a sankalpa. Early morning we have to get up at Brahma Muhurta and do this and do that. But here is no. Any time you get up, anywhere you are, just chant His name. To remember Him. To remember Him. When you take any object, chant His name, remember it. When you do any action, chant His name, remember Him. So chanting His name is, whether we are in the bathroom, whether we are in the puja room, whether we are in the marketplace, whether we are in the office, whether we are in a social gathering, everywhere He is with us, inside us. So whenever He gives us a pause moment, we just remember Him, look within. Yes, I am aware you have provided me this. Yeah. Again you attend. So we will devise some method by which we try to remember Him as much as possible during our waking state. So for all that, this chanting should become a habit. Chanting not for anything else, only to remember Him. Because bereft of Him, we don't exist. Though He has given us a body, mind, intellect, equipment, and given us a sense of individuality separate from Him, He is still there. To know that He mentioned this, life is the expression of Atman. Easy for us to understand. Nobody can deny that I exist without life, I exist because of life force. So Papa has given the simple way to first start. Life is the expression of Atman. Though seemingly two, they are one. So we are repeating the name of that life force. Who is making me to repeat? Who is making me to feel that I am? And from 1920 to 1922, when he took up this chanting, he was very clear about it. Very clear about it. There was no ambiguity, there was no doubt in his mind. That is why he said, what was his word? Ramdas, through a ceaseless repetition of the divine mantram, side by side with the concentrated meditation on the all-pervading, eternal, ever-blissful, indwelling God, had attained freedom and peace even before his advent into the world as a mendicant. That is, the advent into the world as a mendicant in 1922. So in between, by his sadhana, in 1920 to 1922, he was not merely chanting side by side with the concentrated meditation on the all-pervading, eternal, ever-blissful, indwelling God. That is why he talks with authority, no? That is why suddenly we look at it, in 2 years' time he got stabilized. For 50 years, 60 years, 70 years we have been chanting. Have we started feeling his nearness, his presence? So in that case, what are we to do to make it effective? As the devotee has written, we were thinking that by Ram Nam chanting our problems will be solved. Mundane problems. This is not what Papa intended. But because of our faith, you would have got some relief at times. But he never sought any relief for his mundane problem. He wanted the solution, ultimate solution from all things. Because problems are created by me and mine. So if we relieve ourselves from the me and mine, problems are solved once and for all. That he was able to become aware by God's grace, within the 2 years. Though he was in the midst of terrible stress. So these are the thoughts that came to us when we were coming to this Satsang program today. It's a very important point. And we feel, that is the purpose of motivating us to take to this in-depth study. You would have read this first chapter many a times. But when he again read this from the first chapter, then, Papa said, you have not still. The more Ramdas meditated on and uttered his name, the greater the relief and joy he felt. I am also chanting, did I get? This question has not come to me, so far. So through a devotee today he tried, did you apply your mind on this? A part of the time that was formerly totally devoted to worldly affairs was taken up for the meditation of Ram, who for that period gave him real peace and relief. Gradually, love for Ram, the giver of peace, increased. The more Ramdas meditated on and uttered his name, the greater the relief and joy he felt. So the very fact that now he has touched and kindled shows he is guiding us, we don't need any assurance from anybody. So he will further guide us, provided we turn towards him. It is not that casually he struck to us. He just pointed out through that particular word, dwell upon it, dwell upon it, dwell upon it. And what you are doing so far? I try to improve now. The barometer should give you, will tell you that your chanting should give you joy, fullness, free from wants, free from worries, peace, contentment. So now we are trying, that is the purpose for which I am chanting. Yes, anything else? Total silence.
Here Papa talks about effort to be made. Elsewhere he has also recorded saying that unless there is grace, nothing happens.
Unless?
Grace comes.
Unless
Grace is not coming from outside. Grace, Papa has clearly mentioned, grace is from inside.
Yeah, even grace, unless it is revealed in us.
No, it is not interlinked. The moment you remember him, you become the recipient of the grace. The moment you remember him, I want to remember you, I am chanting the name to remember you. Grace has already come. Otherwise, you will not be able to say that. We don't have to think that grace has to come from outside. It is not. Yes?
Only with Viveka and Vairagya, Ananda comes. That is why our Vivekananda is there.
We are trying to look upon ourselves,
Yes, Swami.
What can be done, that is important. Viveka and Vairagya, that, or you say Vairagya and Abhyasa, all those words we have got. But has it been possible for us to implement, prioritize remembrance over everything else, We should be very clear. Chanting is for remembrance. Even if I do 1 mala a day, 10 times a day, it should be for the purpose of remembering him. Let that be very clear to us. Not quantity, the quality.
in that talk it was mentioned, Papa mentioned that it gripped him. The Nama has gripped him. The same grip is it gripping us when we are chanting. We are trying to get the grip of.
Initially, when in his case, nobody told him about all this. Everything came from his within.
Then only it grips, then it will have more power.
That is why he could say that Nam possessed him, not that he possessed the Nam.
When the moment the name of God and the Nama is heard, if it grips us, then that itself will.
He used to say, only a dry wood will catch the fire. Though the fire is there very near to the wood, suppose it is damp, it will not catch. So, unless and until we make it dry, absolutely dry, means pure, it will not. The fire is still there inside, God is there inside. But since my attractions are for so many other things, the fusion does not take place. It is still there. The moment it becomes dry, it will catch. Each one will know to what action one has become dry. When the mind is running out, even for any trivial matter, even including the so-called spiritual practices, then that means it is still damp. But when it is totally turned towards Him, it is trying to become dry, and one day the fusion will take place.
Every moment contemplation is most important. Every moment contemplation, whatever the actions which are happening, deep contemplation.
We can pray, He has given us the freedom to pray. By myself, I am unable to make it dry. Kindly help me to make it dry. I am still.
He says, by self. No.
Let us not condemn ourselves. Let us not do any self-pity. We are only praying. You were able to do to many people. You have told us through Puranas. Even a Valmiki who was a robber, in a trice, you were able to instill the faith in the name and hold on to it. He forgot about everything and finally he realized. There are many such episodes which you have brought us. So because I don't lose faith now. I would not have been able to do it so far. But at least at this age you have made me aware that I am, why the fire is not catching, because I am still damp, I must become dry, fit enough to catch the fire. Kindly enable me to do it, please. So when we keep on praying this, it will have its own impact on all our thoughts, words and deeds. Even when we are involved in various household activities, or professional activities, or social activities, to a very great extent we will be able to hold on. At least now we are clear about the real purpose of chanting. No? Remembrance. So we should somehow see that during the chanting time we try to practice this remembrance, and during the non-chanting time also we try to keep up the remembrance by handling these various outer materials. Okay, let us.
Yesterday when I was in that Ramnam chanting place where taught me this one, which was kept it on the walls. The easiest means to make the mind dwell in the idea of God is constantly reiterate mentally or vocally the name of God. Easiest means. Easiest. The second one is such a recitation of name should of course be accompanied by implicit faith in the efficacy of the name and intense love for the immortal ideal which the name represents. Is to intense faith and intense love.
Each one can check up for oneself, to what extent we have been able to do it. So everybody today is in a contemplative mood. Very good.
Did not go to Calcutta.
So,
Yes, sir.
So Papa's powerful words. Just like, the whip. We feel he is standing before us and telling us these words. Are you trying to go deep within? Or again carry on with your usual way? Then we tell Papa, no. We would like to change our style of chanting. Outwardly we don't change, but inwardly we try to bring in why we are chanting. Chanting is to remember Him who is behind everything. And I should be able to remember this even while you make me to engage in various other activities. You make me to chant, You make me to do cooking, you make me to do office work, you make me to do social work. In all that you should make me to feel that you are there behind me. So this prayer will also go simultaneously. So let us all be grateful to him so that, he has at least reminded us. The in-depth study has yielded this. And this is probably the corrective step by which we will be able to really feel we are all in quest of him. The purpose of repeating the title is not to repeat the title of the book written by Papa, In Quest of God. Every one of us is reminded, are we in quest of God? And if so, have we been able to live up to it? And yes, we are all for that. Otherwise, we will not be sitting here. So now, how to do it? To improve in our quality chanting. We will try to bring in quality in our chanting. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram. Now itself we should try.
Yes, sir.
Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai 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 Jai Ram Om. Papa. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om. Namaskar.